that there hasn't been a holistic plan to address how we use this water. In some cases, you can point to different sectors, to the transportation sector, navigation, using ports in our region. Certainly, that's a major commercial aspect and an economic driver, and taking advantage of that as an effective way to transport goods and generate commerce. But beyond the navigation, there's the ecotourism and recreation side. So the sports fishery, which has been estimated, depending on what numbers you look at, somewhere between $5 and $7 billion a year in the Great Lakes as a whole. Those numbers are squishy, and I think the economists would agree with that. But nonetheless, it's a very significant source of revenue and commerce in our region. The boating industry, and these have indirect effects as well. You're talking about not just the marinas and renting slips and people buying boats and buying gasoline, but also bait shops, people that are the mom and pop stores, grocery stores that are selling to the people that are going out and doing this, the folks that may come off their boats and then go to a local restaurant along the West Shore here in some of the coastal communities. All of this is generating commerce, and so there's an aspect there. But then you can go to some of the ones that really need to perhaps be groomed a little bit for the future. When we talk about food processing, we have an opportunity here. You need water to process food, and we can do this on a large scale. Whether it's producing, tart cherries, for pies, or what have you. They can be very large agribusiness types of things. The water is also key for generating crops in the agricultural business. Our groundwater is really an important source of water. 95% of Lake Michigan's budget ultimately comes from groundwater. Water budget ultimately comes from groundwater. Now it feeds the tributaries and streams that then feed Lake Michigan, but groundwater is a critical aspect here. So we need to make sure, even though we have an abundance of groundwater, there's still going to be areas that can be depleted if we don't use the water wisely here in Michigan. And so that's something else to consider as part of this larger framework. Manufacturing needs water, whether you're producing automobiles or some of the advanced manufacturing we do here in West Michigan. So water can also be used for that kind of aspect. Or we can start looking at things like tidal energy. We've talked a lot about wind turbines out in the Great Lakes, and there's a lot of concerns about view sheds being impaired. But if we start having turbines that are underwater, where you're taking advantage of the tides to generate energy, kinetic energy, to drive generators, then maybe you can get away from that problem. We've talked about putting turbines in the connecting channels of the Great Lakes, where you take advantage of the natural flow and the gradient between different lakes, and that could be something else. Now, there's a lot of considerations here, because some of these turbines could be affecting areas that are critical spawning habitat for our endangered fish. So you need to look at this in a large perspective. But these are the kind of things that haven't been addressed in a holistic, comprehensive way, and that's what I think we need to do as part of this blue water economy. Figure out, what are the low-hanging fruit, what are the things that need to be groomed and are tractable, and what are the ones that really need a lot of energy, and decide, do we want to put that much energy and resources into making these realistic, or do we decide this is just not going to happen at this point in time?
The blue water economy is a concept that has sort of surfaced in the last maybe year and a half or so, and I think it's the result of people in Michigan, especially these days with the economic challenges we have, looking around for all the creative opportunities we can find, and as you look around this area, you very quickly turn around literally and face the water and ask yourself the question, well, what does that represent for us in terms of opportunity? And it represents opportunity on many fronts. It can represent a recreation that's sort of an obvious area in this location, especially the Muskegon Lakeshore area. Obviously, tourism industry, recreation is very big, but it also represents business and industry. And as we talk about renewable energy and energy technologies, especially wind over water continues to be a topic of great discussion and debate. Right now, the federal government is actively developing and calling for the development of technology. and asking for demonstration projects. For the moment, there's been a little bit of turning away from that form of energy in the Great Lakes area. But I think as the energy challenges we all face continue to mount, and they will, I think wind energy will at some point become part of the mix of our whole energy portfolio, and then it will become a question of how do we manage that? How do we move things around? How do we install things? Even if we're talking in faraway places, I see the Great Lakes, the blue water around us offering an opportunity to create industry in this area. The results of which, the output of those industries could then be transported to other locations over water.